to stop using scale weight, and we've got to start using body composition, and we've got to start focusing on putting on muscle before we start thinking about losing fat. If you just focused on eating your protein first, you'll be full. You won't eat the other stuff. If you focus on putting on muscle, you'll lose fat because muscle is going to burn more fat.
Welcome to Ending Chronic Disease, where we challenge everything you thought you knew about health. Join international best-selling author and wellness pioneer, Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, as he reveals how to transform your body, your mind, and your life starting today.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Fab Mancini, and super excited that you're here with us primarily because I have one of the most influential nutritionists in the world, but somebody that actually shifted my life at a very stage in my life in teaching me the value of proper nutrition and proper fitness. And that is JJ Virgin. JJ, it's so great to see you. How are you?
That was like 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Can you believe it? It's been
when was that?
It seems like yesterday, but JJ, I want to talk a little bit about your background just because for some of the listeners that may not have experienced you, JJ is a triple board certified nutritional expert. She's a fitness Hall of Famer. She's a transformational leader committed to redefining aging and longevity. She's a founder of Mindshare Collaborative, which is the most influential professional community in health and creator of a $2 million businesses, a prominent media personality. That's where we met with Dr. Phil. JJ co-hosted TLC Freaky Eaters, served as a nutritional expert for the Dr. Phil Weight Loss Challenge, and has appeared regularly on PBS, Dr. Oz, Rachel Ray, Access Hollywood, and The Today Show. JJ is the author of 4 New York Times best-selling books, including The Virgin Diet, JJ Virgin Sugar and Infant Diet. JJ Virgin has exceeded over 22 million downloads, and she regularly teaches alongside Tony Robbins. JJ continues to empower millions of people globally through nutrition, education, leadership, and resilience. Now, I can tell you that we can take the whole show telling you about how great this lady is, but JJ, honestly, for me, the greatest accolade that I can give you is just you're authentic, and you have contributed to this space of health and wellness for so many years consistently, and I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, you gave me a big opportunity going over to Parker College, and funny story, Fab, is, you wanted me to teach, I think, like a little hour on weight loss that turned into this massive 2-day course that I, because as I started to really unpack it. And I got to tell you, I'm more excited about where things are now in the field of nutrition and fitness and lifestyle medicine than ever. Like, I think it's the most exciting time. I also feel like it is finally a time where I always used to feel like the lowly exercise physiologist, and now it feels like the exercise physiologists are the rock stars, right? Because everyone's realizing that the single biggest thing you can do for longevity is exercise, but you have to do it right. So it's a good time. I'm having fun.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the early beginnings, because I find that many times our audience would like to know a little bit more about you personally. In the early stages of your career, was there anything in particular that made you aware that the value of fitness and nutrition was going to be something that could be so transformational for millions of people that led you to want to be in this space, rather than so many other options that you could have had in those days?
And I will tell you, I really deliberated whether I was going to go to 3 schools. It was funny. I was either going to go to the Culinary Institute of America. Okay, like this is kind of crazy when you look at this. Culinary Institute of America. Now, I'd already gone to UCLA as a theater major because I wanted to be an actress, and decided that was not where I wanted to spend my time. But I was going to either go to the Culinary Institute because I was catering my way through college. I actually catered the 1984 Olympics and watched Nadia Comaneci eat the entire pate for the entire VIP party. Then I was going to go to medical school or I was going to go to exercise phys school, grad school. And my friends at the time who were doctors told me that medicine was going in a really bad direction and not to go that route. And I kind of got frustrated because I really wanted to do healthy cooking and it wasn't in vogue at that time at all. And so exercise science was what I chose. And, I've always been obsessed with exercise and diet, but you can't pull them apart. And what's interesting about the exercise physiology world and the nutrition world is that they're totally different programs. And I'm kind of midway through my grad school going, how do you out-exercise a bad diet? Like, you have to put these two together. They're an exponential effect. My doctoral work was exercise science with nutrition and aging. But, it just never dawned on me that I'd go look at anything else besides maybe hormones, et cetera, because it's really the foundation for everything. It's the biggest lever we can pull is diet and exercise.
And it's so interesting because you and I that have been in this space for a while, we know that the solutions are basic, but we make it complicated as individuals. Many times we're not willing to sacrifice just a little bit to gain a tremendous amount of return in our health and well-being long-term. You did something recently. We were together in Florida where you gave us a presentation about the importance of nutrition and many of the new research and developments and discoveries that you are finding about this thing that some people really understand, but I find that the majority of the people don't understand. But let's talk a little bit about protein and how would you define what is protein and what are perhaps some of the new discoveries that you have recognized with a lot of research and how that impacts our health and our vitality?
So it's really interesting when you look at diet books because they address, usually they'll go after one of the macronutrients. So we have 3 macronutrients: protein, fat, and fiber, or carbs. And protein we're eating for the essential amino acids. Fat we're eating, it's a fuel source. So protein I think of as a function macro that we're really eating for these essential amino acids, which we'll talk about in a moment. Then we have our fuel macros, fat, but we have essential nutrients in our fat. We have essential fatty acids, omega-6s, omega-3s. Then we have our carbohydrates, and they are not essential, but within there, I'd say what we really need are the polyphenols and the fiber. When you look at the diets out there, what they tend to do is either lower the fat or raise the fat, lower the carbs or raise the fat. It's kind of crazy, and the protein's kind of left to the side. And what's interesting is we can live without carbohydrates. We can't live without protein. And if you're eating animal protein, you're getting the fat because you got to have the fat too. But the reality is we have a place to store carbs. If we're working out, we're storing them in our muscles. We've got our liver to store them in. We've definitely got a place to store fat. But we really don't have any storage for protein. It's in our muscles. But, if you want to break down your muscles to get amino acids, that's like deciding to, break down your walls of your house to get firewood. This would be a dumb thing to do. So we're eating protein every day to get these essential amino acids that provide the building blocks for us to do things like go through muscle protein synthesis and muscle, by the way, changes everything. Like you look at right now what's going on in our metabolic health before the pandemic, it was less than 7% of us were metabolically healthy. So it's got to be worse now. And then I remember hearing a statistic that by the year 2030, we'd be 100% diabetic, which we're not, but we're 40% and we're 75% overweight or obese. And if you look at the real challenge we face, it's that we are losing muscle. And one of the big drivers of being able to have enough muscle is protein. The other driver, of course, is resistance training. And yet we have a recommended daily intake that's about half of where it needs to be, especially when you're 30 plus and you've got something called anabolic resistance, where it's harder for our body to use that protein and the resistance training to build muscle. So we need more, not less. And yet most of the people out there aren't even hitting the RDI for protein, which is crazy. And then we have this big push for plant-based nutrition. But if you look at a lot of what people are eating who are plant-based, it's basically ultra-processed junk food that doesn't have animal protein in it, right? It's like plant-based would be great if we were eating, say, wild salmon, grass-fed beef plus Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and blueberries. But you see plant-based and it's like some garbage, created plant burger that's made with, damaged seed oils and corn fiber.
Well, you have coached so many high-profile individuals over your career. And I know that for you, you take a tremendous amount of pride in your outcomes. You work so hard, and I was your client for quite some time in the early days, and I know how diligent you are. Is there a case or maybe potentially someone that you work with that you realize that when they integrated the proper amount of proteins in their lives, made a difference that was very surprising to them, and maybe even potentially to you when you really understand the value of protein in our diets?
Okay, you're going to love this one. It's my husband. Wow. So here's what's funny, Fab. So for my 60th birthday, I was 58, and I thought, I'm going to go get a DEXA because I want to be in the best shape of my life at 60. If you start listening to the statistics out there, boy, it is doom and gloom as to what goes on as you age. And I'm like, I'm going to prove just the opposite of that. Do you remember on Dr. Phil, he would always talk about you can't be what you were in high school? I'm like, well, what if you could be better? I'm like, what if you could be better? So I knew my DEXA at 39, which I'm a very, very lean woman, like kind of genetically freakishly so. But in my 20s, I'd been 10% body fat. And at 39, I remember I was 13.9% body fat, 154 pounds. So I do a DEXA, and I'm exactly the same at 58 as I was at 39. My husband is 27% body fat. Now, he's an athletic guy. He's always been athletic. And I was expecting him to be 12 or 15% body fat. And he was 27% body fat. It was shocking. He was what we call a skinny fat. Normal weight, high body fat, lean muscle. Because again, for a man, he should have been way less than that. Now, there were a couple things going on. His testosterone had dropped some, but one of the big things he was doing, and I talked to him about that, but I wasn't going to be the prophet in my home, right? I was like, before dinner, he'd get out the SHEatine chips and the hummus and the cashews and, nom, 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 right? And so when he sees the DEXA, now it's not me saying anything, it's the DEXA, And so I said, well, can I help you here? And so the first thing we did was we got him to eat 1 gram per pound of where he wanted to be, his target body weight. So he's now eating 100 grams of protein a day. And I said, my rule is you need to eat this first. So now he's not plowing through a bag of SHEatine chips, right? And because people will tell me I can't eat that much protein. I go, yeah, because I just saw you eat like the bread at dinner, the salad that turned into a sundae, like all the stuff. Just eat the protein first. And if you get full, who cares? So that's what he did. He flipped it. And crazy, he dropped 4 pounds. Let me see, he dropped 3 pounds. However, he dropped 27 pounds of fat, and he put on 24 pounds of muscle, and he dropped down to 10% body fat, and he looks better than he's ever looked in his entire life. So this whole idea that you cannot, you peaked at high school, all this ridiculous stuff. No, you just have to know how to do this correctly. And literally, here he is, just turned 60, and he is like he's never looked like this. And so, that is my favorite case study to show because, like, I win.
Well, I love it in a couple of ways. Number one, many times, as we get older, we don't think that we're capable of making that drastic of a change. And we talk ourselves out from really doing or searching for the right answers to help us achieve the outcomes that we want. But secondarily, I love the fact that as a couple, you can support one another with each other's expertise, where he was seeing in you the level of optimum health that you can have, And all of a sudden he was open to trying some new things, and it paid off. And now look at what an amazing journey he's going to be able to have over the next 30, 40, 50 years, instead of feeling the opposite.
I know.
Potentially
keep him around.
Created, yeah.
You know, it's interesting. Like, I just had another gal, and she has been kind of stuck mid 140s at, 5'6". So, I mean, but stuck there. And had always been between 140 and 150, clothing size 8 to 10, 5'6". And she just decided she was going to track her macros. And I find that's the first thing I like people to do is, let's just do a macro audit. Just be curious, not judgmental. And the first thing you're going to start to focus on is eating your protein first. And if you are focusing on putting on muscle, let's get a gram per pound of target body weight, that ideal body weight you want to be at. And that's all she did, and started lifting heavy. She literally had been, so many women, Fab, as you know, do a lot of cardio and lots of reps of weight, right? And so she stopped that. She started deadlifting and squatting. And literally, she was telling me today, she's like six months later, she's dropped 20 pounds. She went from a size 8 to a size 4, right? And instead of that struggle that people go through where they're counting everything and it just happened. But it happened. And this is something I really want people to understand, is we've got to stop using scale weight, and we've got to start using body composition, and we've got to start focusing on putting on muscle before we start thinking about losing fat. If you just focused on eating your protein first, you'll be full. You won't eat the other stuff. If you focus on putting on muscle, you'll lose fat, because muscle is going to burn more fat. So it makes it so easy, and it's so much more motivating to notice yourself getting stronger, right? It's fun.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about some of the popular things right now. There seems to be a big push right now for the carnivore diet. A lot of people are switching to just eating meat. Tell us a little bit about, in your opinion, as far as what are the values of, what are the best sources of protein? And are you in agreement that maybe switching to all meat may be a good answer, or does that need to be reconsidered with a different level of understanding of what protein's value is and what sources we should consider when we're putting that in our bodies?
So I think that's really important for us to look at diets in a different way. I think we have to look at diets as tools. And quite often the diet you might use to get a certain outcome or to heal you is not the diet that you are then going to use long term. I think in the short term, the carnivore diet can be enormously effective. It can shut up a lot of food noise. It can help you heal from food intolerances. Long term, I really want to support your microbiome with the polyphenols and fibers from plants. So I think it's got a place. I interviewed Dr. Sean Baker on Well Beyond 40. He's awesome. But I think it's probably got a place for 3 to 6 months. And then I really want to get your gut microbiome going up with, I want the fiber and the polyphenols, whether you're carnivoring or not. And I've used carnivore when I was working with a morbidly obese person with a lot of food noise. I was like, all right, tell you what we're going to do. Because it did. He wasn't hungry, and it shut off all those other choices that were creating problems for him. I think that where we need to focus with anything we're choosing is the best quality sources of whatever it is. And with protein, if you're eating animal-based protein, you are what you ate. And so you do want to make sure you're getting clean, lean sources of animal protein. So that is the grass-fed, grass-finished, pastured, wild types of things. So for us, we have a freezer stocked full of grass-fed, grass-finished beef and pastured chicken and pastured pork and wild fish. And that's what we focus on. And we basically eat animals plus plants. It's pretty simple when you get down to it. But we do eat the protein first. We sit down last night. We had grass-fed, grass-finished porterhouses with wild mushrooms and onions and broccolini. And we sat down and ate the protein first, and then we ate the other stuff.
I love the idea of protein first. Let's talk a little bit about one of my biggest concerns right now is the increase of numbers of mental health challenges and the disorders, especially depression, anxiety, maybe potentially suicidal thoughts. I mean, I've seen statistics grow over the last couple of years. in your opinion, could there be a relationship between the level of protein that somebody's taking and their mental health status or well-being?
Well, I know there was a study done on red meat showing that people who ate more red meat had lower levels of depression. When you think about it, if your brain is about 70%, omega-3s, and you're getting omega-3s from grass-fed, grass-finished beef and seafood, it just makes sense. I would also put another piece into this puzzle because this is a complicated issue with a lot to unpack, and I think a lot of the problems are, yes, we're nutrient deficient, and that is not helping. And we're isolated and sedentary, and that's hugely problematic. And I was doing a podcast with Eric Admedes. Have you had Eric on yet? You know Eric Admedes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Eric was talking about when he was with the Hadza. And he said, I was asking them about depression, and they looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, when you feel sad, do you have people feel sad for long periods of time? And they go, oh, yeah. He goes, well, how long? He goes, 3 days. He goes, what happens at 3 days? He goes, they get hungry and they have to go run and chase and get their food, and they're not depressed anymore. So I think we've gotten so far away from moving the way we need to move, eating the way we need to eat, that we're over here nutrient deficient and sedentary and insulin resistant, which means now we really can't get the nutrients to our brain. And we're just, it's a complicated mess of all of that.
One of the things that I've seen with this new administration is a really awareness, especially in the United States, how our chronic diseases are 90% of our healthcare costs. We know that many people are struggling with heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, obesity, of course. What do you think are some of the things that an individual should consider right now implementing in their lives in order to prevent some of these chronic diseases, which, as you know, many experts and scientists have determined that many of them are epigenetic or lifestyle in nature, and they could be prevented, and they can maybe even be put in remission or even be reversed or even at least greatly improved. What are some of the, in your opinion, daily habits potentially or good choices that we could start thinking in order to maybe reduce that level of inflammation and also maybe not position ourselves to be one of those statistics?
So I think the very first thing is to start tracking how much you move and to get your movement up to at least 8,000 steps a day. Like, that is such a clear one. And apparently our average in the United States is 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day, which is crazy. There was a study that came out that looked at vigorous intermittent lifestyle physical activity. This could be as simple as running up the stairs, right? Doing some air squats, doing some push-ups, but literally 4.5 minutes to 10 minutes total of this type of stuff throughout the day in 1 to 2 minute increments. And they had one group do it, one group didn't do it. The group that was doing this, they had a 40 to 50% reduction in all-cause mortality. So we cannot overcome being sedentary. Like, we have to get moving. That exercise it takes care of so much stuff. Even though you can't out-exercise a bad diet, you actually can make a big dent in it. So the first thing is just starting to move and just build on it. So let's say that you're someone who's getting 3,000 steps a day, like the person who I was talking about earlier, the morbidly obese person. He was at 3,000 steps a day. I'm like, all right, let's get to 4. All right, let's start you just doing an air squat over the top of a couch arm, like just the littlest things to get you to start to move, because your muscle is going to then suck that sugar into it instead of turning it into fat. It's going to help you become more insulin sensitive. It's going to, as it contracts, it's going to lower inflammation. It's going to boost your mood. It's going to make new brain neurons and new heart mitochondria. So let's get it moving. That would be the first thing. And then I think that we need to do things one by one so they become your new normal. And that could be as simple as, okay, first thing, because I know what will make the biggest difference, is to eat that protein first, because you'll be satiated and because it has a bigger thermic effect of food. When we look at your overall daily metabolism, obviously your resting metabolic rate is going to be your biggest indicator, and the biggest way to shift that is to have more muscle. But then there's also the thermic effect of food, the effect of digestion, and protein is going to be the most costly, but it also is the most satiating. So eat protein first, and then start adding in those veggies, like that American Gut Project of getting the 30 different diverse plants. I make things fun. So first it was getting in 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein each day and tracking it. Then it was, okay, can I get 30 different types of plants in a week? Because that's a lot. Like 30 different kinds of plants, luckily herbs count, is a lot. Or you can do one of those green drinks and cover a bunch of them at once. But just making it fun, getting the water in, just one by one, pick one thing a week as your challenge. And you'll look back and go, wow. Like you'll look back a year later and go, my entire health has changed. But if you try to do that in a week, all of it, you will do nothing, as we all know, right?
Well, I love it because I do believe that the choices that we make daily really lead up to whether we are making ourselves healthier or making ourselves unhealthier. But let's talk a little bit about how do we engage our children into this mode of health and well-being. We have a lot of listeners that are parents. We have a lot of physicians and doctors that are also listening. But one of the questions that I get a lot of times, and I know you've been very successful at this, raising your own children, what is it that you feel are some of the best practices or tips that we can give our parents in not only making sure that the kids are getting enough protein, and actually at what age should we be introducing what level of proteins, but also making sure that we are encouraging them to have an active engagement role in this process of being healthy, because at the end of the day, we set a lot of the premise and the infrastructure as to what our kids will do or not do based upon what we do at home. So what are some of the things that you have done that are very effective, and some of the things that perhaps you recommend other people that they may try doing also?
I remember I had a client and she was a smoker. And I said, do you want your kids to smoke? She goes, oh, my kids are never going to smoke. I go, of course they're going to smoke. You've given them permission. You are your kid's role model. And growing up, first of all, I didn't want to be, when I grew up, my mom always had dessert. I actually went the opposite direction, like always, always, always. And we had a girlfriend down the street whose mom never had dessert. And she would come to my house and pig out. So I was like, well, that you can't do the total way that this poor girl Evelyn was. But mine was a little bit over the top that way too. So I thought, what if you really just live the way you want your kids to live, which is eat healthy stuff, eat the good stuff first, and then occasionally you can have dessert. Like life, you're going to have dessert occasionally. That's fine. And so, we always had healthy stuff, and occasionally we'd make cookies or go out for ice cream. So they had a very normalized way around food. Or, once a week we'd have some pizza, and sometimes we'd make pizza, right? But I always taught them to eat the healthy stuff first. And so they ate healthy stuff. That's what they knew. And in fact, I remember Bryce we went Easter egg hunting, and I didn't realize he was eating all the Easter eggs as we were doing the Easter egg hunt, like all these chocolate Easter eggs. He promptly goes up. This was my parents' golf country club. We're doing the Easter egg hunt. He's like hiding, eating Easter eggs, and promptly goes and throws it all up because he's not used to eating it. Same with Grant with Halloween candy. He was like, I feel so sick, I never want to touch this again. And so, when you teach them to eat healthy, that's what their tastes are like. And then if you involve them on it, like kids love it. Cooking is fun. I'll tell you a funny thing, Fab. One of my friends came over and he goes, you should check your son's computer because he's probably watching porn. I go, my son is not watching porn. And sure enough, I go on his computer and he's got like videos on how to build rocket ships, and he's got videos on cooking. He's like YouTube cooking videos.
Wow.
Right? So, get them involved, let them have fun. Kids will get involved with what they create. If they create something, they're more likely to do it. So if they're helping pack their lunch, they're making those decisions too. They're helping with one dinner a week too. Then they won't be the people who during the pandemic were like, had never learned how to cook and didn't know what to do. When you look at what is one of the biggest distinguishing factors now between healthy people and unhealthy people is cooking at home. Besides just the food cost alone, but cooking at home is such a determinant of whether you're healthy or not. And you want to make sure that cooking at home isn't opening a box of mac and cheese, you know?
And then what I noticed with my kids, that now that they're living alone, they prepare their own meals. They love sharing recipes, and it becomes a lifestyle for life.
It's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Well, what are you doing next? What is exciting coming up? And is there anything you want to share with our audience?
So I just am turning in my book. Thank God. This was a very long gestation for this book. So that's getting turned in. So I'm very excited about that. It's really about body composition, powerful aging, and how muscle changes everything. And then I launched a product that I'm super excited about that goes alongside it called SHEatine. And it was because I was speaking at a medical conference and talking about creatine, and this product formulator came up to me afterwards, and he said, she showed me creatine HCl, and I was super skeptical because all the research was done on monohydrate and blah, blah, blah. I realized, yeah, but the research is about creatine, not monohydrate. And what he showed me was that creatine monohydrate, only about 15% of it gets absorbed. And that's why I got so much blowback as I was promoting creatine monohydrate from people feeling bloated. Turns out about 76% of people get gas and bloating from it. So I spent about 6 months really deep diving into this, went to his plant, learned all about it. It's really cool because it's actually manufactured in the United States, which is the only creatine that is, and created a product that I framed for women because women are so scared of creatine. We joke and we cover the S and say it's SHEatine. Guys can take it too. But that is what I've been really pushing out into the world, is that women need to be taking creatine. We have 70 to 80% of the tissue stores that men have of creatine because we have less muscle mass. We have lower creatine stores. And it's huge for muscle, for bone, for brain, for skin, for immune. I mean, it's like this amazing nutrient that we should be getting enough from our diet, but unless you're a carnivore, you're not, because you make a little bit each day, like a gram from essential amino acids, and then you need to take in another gram or two, and that's basically a pound of raw meat or 2 pounds of cooked. So women aren't getting it. So that's my big project I'm out there now, is educating on creatine, especially creatine HCl.
Well, you have a track record of putting some of the most impactful health books out ever, and also selecting some of the most advanced products in the marketplace. So with your permission, we're going to put all of your links right here. For those of you that are watching this and listening, we encourage you to please click here on the link and seek this woman out. Learn everything you can from her, follow her recommendations, because I promise you, as being one of her patients and clients for many years, I have benefited greatly over these years by following her formula for being the healthiest that you can be. So, JJ, God bless you. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us. And I only wish you the greatest success always.
Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
I'll see you soon. See you, everyone.
To learn more about Dr. Fabrizio Mancini's groundbreaking work, visit www.endingchronicdisease.com and join the movement. Together, we can end the silent epidemic of chronic disease and create a healthier, more vibrant world. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, be well and stay inspired.